Hey, hi, hello. It's Thursday, January 9th. It's my face again. And today I wanted to open up about my past relationship. I've kept this hidden pretty much from the internet, from every platform. I've hinted at it, I've poked it a little bit, but I've kept it hidden. And I think I'm finally ready to open up about it all. So I guess we'll start from the beginning. Back in 2011, I messaged someone that I knew back in high school, and I knew that he did drugs because I was dabbling in drugs and I wanted to try heroin. And so I messaged him and he was like, please don't do it, da 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 da. Anyways, I ended up going over to his house and he taught me how to do drugs, how to use a needle, etc., etc. He was very grumpy. He was very paranoid. He was really chunky in high school and middle school. Actually, he dropped out of high school, got sent to boot camp. But in middle school, he was like chunky, and he was like, had just not gotten out of prison, but he was doing drugs, so he had lost a lot of weight, and I was like intrigued by him. He was very independent, whereas I was still kind of dependent on my family, and he was like a lone ranger, so to speak, and he had all these connections to like different people. So I was interested, and he taught me how to use drugs, so I would stop over to his house all the time. And I also had a couple of older male friends that I would meet up with to do sexual things with to make money. And then I would text him on my way to his house. I'd be like, hey, I just made money. Isn't that so crazy? Because I was like baffled by the fact that I could just use my body to make money. It like blew my mind. So I was like proud of it in this sick, twisted sort of way. Anyways, I would text him and be like, I'm on my way from Chesaning. I met up with this guy and I have X amount of dollars. Can I meet up with you? And he'd be like, yeah, just come by or whatever. He'd also be really paranoid and like make me park in a church parking lot and like walk to his house. So that was also happening. Wow, I forgot that he introduced me to the needle. That's really weird. And he did ask me not to do it, but I'm like, I'm already doing drugs. Show me how to do this. So I'm not like blaming that on him or anything. It's just he was the person that was like in my world, in my path, that I knew would like help me out with that. So then anyways, fast forward a little bit, and he ends up going to prison for using a computer to commit a crime, and he was on tether, so he couldn't leave his house. So he was having people steal for him, and then I think he would like sell it on eBay. I'm pretty sure that was what he was doing. I didn't really know too much about his business back then, but he was always really like smart and crafty. Also, he had like a lockpick kit or something like that, so we got charged with that. And then because he was having other people steal for him, and then I think that he'd supply them drugs, he got charged with like conducting a criminal enterprise. So using the computer to commit a crime, conducting criminal enterprise. Something with the lockpicking kit, but I think that ended up getting dropped. But he had flushed all the drugs down the toilet, so he did not get charged with that, and he got taken to jail and prison. So he did 18 months, and then when he was like getting ready to get out, the parole board brought up another charge, and he got, quote, it's called flopped, where he had to do another 18 months. So he did 3 years total. During that time, I was like in and out of rehab. I was off and running, doing drugs. And when he got out of prison, he hit me up and he's like, you look like you're doing really good. We should go to a meeting sometime, because he had just gotten out of prison. So he was doing the gym. He was doing meetings, and my life looked terrible. My life looked like prostitution and using drugs and having sex and getting more drugs. Like, that's all I was doing. My life was really sad. And I'm like, I'm not doing good at all, but sure, I'll go to a meeting with you. But like the whole time at the meeting, I was like, God, I need to go back. I need to get back to my apartment so I can do more drugs. But I got a glimpse of like what recovery life looked like. Then I went to treatment. I went to treatment at Odyssey House again for 90 days. And I got out and I used that night with my mom. And the next day he came over and he's like, so you're clean? And I'm like, yeah, I'm clean. And we smoked a cigarette on the back porch, even though I wasn't actually clean. I had just used with my mom the night before. But I had like 90 days clean and 1 day of using. So anyways, then for the next like couple of months, I was straddling the fence of using drugs and going to meetings and like pretending to be clean. But every time that I got alone time with a car or a way to get, you know, some money or a way to get drugs, I was doing it. He had a job and he worked at Happy's Pizza, and then he would come back to where I was. Well, one night he came back and I had gotten a bunch of cocaine and I had shot it up or whatever, and I was hiding it in the bathroom. And he's like, I know you're using da-da-da. And I'm like, no, I'm not. I swear to God. And he ended up finding my shit and like made me flush it down the toilet. And I was devastated. And he's like, what do I have to do to make you stay sober? Do I have to get you pregnant? Da-da-da-da. Well, that's what ended up happening. So, but before that, he started using with me. So I ended up getting my CNA license, and after I got my CNA license, I worked at a memory ward, and while I was working there, he picked me up from work one day and he's like, if you use again, I'm going to end up using with you. Like, I can't handle this anymore. Well, I had drugs in my pocket that day. I had already gotten my check and had someone drop me off some shit. So I already had stuff. So I'm like, well, look I have it in my pocket right now. So it looks like you're getting high with me. And I was kind of relieved because then I didn't have this guy that I was trying to play cat and mouse with anymore. Like, we were just using drugs and that's what we were doing. And like, it sucks and it's so like shitty to say that, but that's the truth. And I'm here to tell the truth. It's like misery loves company. Like, you don't want people to do drugs with you, but also that person really cared about me and wanted to be in my life, but he was like a barrier. He was in my way. Like, I just wanted to get high and he was always just like in my way, you know, and wouldn't let me. And so once he relapsed with me, it's just like, thank God. And I almost wanted to see that side of him. Like, I was jealous of his ex because she got to do drugs with him and she got to see that wild side of him and I didn't. But then, like, I did get to see it and it wasn't fun. It wasn't fun at all. And he used to tell me that he was a monster, because I'm like, I'm a monster. I don't know why, but I can't stop having sex with people for money. Somehow he had logged into like all of my emails and like saw that I was still talking to my old quote Johns, if you will. And I don't know how the fuck he did that, but he figured out how to log into all my emails. I guess it wasn't really that hard. And then he ended up eventually getting me on his mom's phone plan. His mom's an angel. His mom's very sweet, and she's still very sweet to this day. She's my kids' grandparent. So anyways, yeah, he was mad at me. And I'm like, I don't know why I can't stop prostituting. Like, I don't know why. It's easy money. It's fun for me. Something's wrong with me because I don't know why I can't stop. Like, I love you and I want to be with you, but for some reason, my brain just wants me to keep doing this other thing over here. And so then he kind of just like gave up and was like, okay, well, if you're going to do this, then you might as well bring in money for us to get high with. And I'm like, bet. So then I started sleeping with more men for more money. And that was just, you know, I got back in that pattern. And it's a sad life. Like, it really is. It's a shitty life. I met a lot of interesting people. But I don't know. Like, it's sad. It's a sad life. Just getting up, going on Craigslist, figuring out who's legit, who's a scam, who hopefully one of your old guys that you already know can meet up that day. That type of a thing. And it was really tiring. I'm very grateful that I never got beat up or I never got harmed in any way. The only thing that ever happened to me was someone told me they had to leave to go to the ATM, and then they never came back. So that happened to me one time, and I was really pissed. He even went as far as to like text me and be like, do you want something from the gas station? I was like, yeah, I want a purple Faygo. And then he's like, oh, okay. Oh, the ATM doesn't work here. I got to go to the other gas station. And then literally just ghosted me. But, you know, it's the game. I got smarter. I got a lot smarter. And what I would do from then on is when my quote John would get there, I would get the money and I'd put it in the mailbox. And then my ex would come drive, get the money out of the mailbox and go get drugs. I would take the guy inside and do the deed with. And then once we were done, my ex, what can we call him? Chad would be waiting down the street. And so as soon as the John would leave, Chad would pull in with the drugs. And I'd be like, yay, it works out so perfectly. And I'm just saying like the very realistic shit, okay, you guys? I'm just saying the very real, raw feelings and emotions that I had. Obviously, today, I wouldn't be thinking, yay, for drugs about to pull into my driveway. But back then, that's how it is. So I'm just giving it to you real raw how it is. Like, I know it sounds twisted. I know it sounds effed up, but that's just how it is. And I also remember I had this drug dealer that I really liked and I used to sleep with for dope sometimes. And we went to him to get dope once and he had his hand out like this and he's like, take this one. And he like pointed to a rock. Well, we took the bigger one. And sure as shit, he was at our house like within 10 minutes and he's like, what the fuck, Blayne? You know that wasn't right and da-da-da-da. And I'm like, yes, I know it's not right. But it's already drawn up in needles and then you can have the rest of it. So I had to like give him the rest of that shit. That was really crazy. And then, so Chad really liked to steal. That was like his hustle. And I liked to have sex for money. That was my hustle. I hated stealing. Because my grandma worked loss prevention for Meijer, which is kind of like Walmart. Well, guess where he liked to go steal? But of course it was Meijer, and he wanted to steal these big speakers and put them in my purse. And I was so scared. I was scared shitless, but we'd get a $300 speaker and take it back to the pawn shop, and we'd only get $75. What a stupid hustle. Like, that's a stupid freaking hustle. A $300 speaker, and you're gonna get $75 back from it? What a dumb hustle. I'm like, can't we just use my body and make $120? It makes a lot more sense. I felt a lot better doing that. For some reason, stealing just was so scary to me. I didn't know whether to walk or to run out this door. And he's like, just walk. And I'm like, ah! I got so scared. Well, eventually, one time we were at Kohl's and it was around Christmas time. And he went to the home department and got scissors. Went to the electronics and snipped the like security device off of the Beats headphones. And the loss prevention was following us around, so we left it there. We're like, oh, we're not stealing today, and left it there. Well, apparently they saw on the cameras and was like, oh, that's so-and-so. So the next time he went to parole, they were like, oh, is this you stealing on camera? And he's like, actually, I didn't steal. I left it there. And then, yeah, I got a conspiracy to commit retail fraud charge, and he got a retail fraud charge. Even though I didn't actually steal. They said Miss Adams had something under her shirt. I was pregnant. Yeah, I was pregnant. And, yeah, he made me carry a big bag. So I always had a really big bag with me, but there was nothing in that bag. Anyways, so he ended up going back to jail, and I was afraid that he was going to go back to prison. I ended up getting on methadone and getting clean. and he went to TRICAP, which is like a jail's version of rehab. It's a really shitty rehab, but that's where he ended up going. And he got sentenced to 90 days. He ended up getting out like May 29th, which was Harrison's due date. My son, my 10-year-old, and then Harrison was born on June 3rd. So he got out just like days before baby was born, which I was really grateful for. But so like the 3 months that he was in treatment, I ended up getting clean. So I went to the methadone clinic and I got on methadone, and I really clung on to some strong women in the recovery program. And I latched on to NA like for dear life, because I knew I wanted to be a mother. I knew I could better my life. I knew that there was hope for me. For like the first time in my life, I could see a path forward. Because prior to this, all I knew was that I'm stuck in this life. There's no way for me to get out, because it's like it feels so good, but then the lows feel so bad. But there's like no way to get out. You're just in like this vicious cycle of like, this feels amazing, but also this feels terrible at the same time. Like when you're high, you're really high, and it's like euphoric. It's euphoria. That's why they call that show Euphoria. But then like the next morning and you wake up and you're dope sick, like you're keeled over, you're puking, you're shitting your pants, like you can't breathe. It feels like you're crawling out of your skin. If you've ever had a baby and you've ever given birth, like the very last transition period of birth, that's what I can describe it as. That like crawling out, like help me, help me, help me, help me, like that is what it fucking feels like to be dope sick. And so when it's good, it's good, and when it's bad, it's really fucking bad. And all the other, not to mention all the other bad shit that comes with it, like criminal charges, like STDs, like not respecting your body, no self-respect, no self-worth, losing every job that you ever owned because you can't be responsible enough to wake up on time to get there, having to get well before you can even go to work so that you can function. You know, I was always 10 minutes late for work because I always had to get some more shit before I could go to work so that I could like be even keel and I could function. And it sucked, you know, it sucked. Anyways, after he had gotten out of TRICAP and I was on methadone, I started to see like the controlling tendencies. I saw it a little bit as we were using, but I'm also controlling too, so it like kind of balanced each other out. But after he got out of treatment and he was sober and I was sober, he started exerting control over me being on methadone and was like trying to force me to get clean or try to force me to get off of methadone, even though I was pregnant. He was like, after I had the baby, he was like, you got to get off of this stuff you're still using. Also, his sponsor was also telling him that. So he had this whole like rally of people saying, she's still getting high, because I was on methadone. And then I eventually tapered off of methadone. He would go to my doctor's appointments with me and talk to the doctor. He wouldn't believe me when I would tell him like what happened at my appointments. Like it was this huge thing. It's such a difference in like where I'm at today with my partner. And he's just like, your recovery is your recovery. That's what he says. He doesn't force me to do anything. And it's such a different, just so night and day. Anyways, so yeah, I ended up weaning off of methadone, and like NA threw me this huge celebration because now I'm actually clean and I got a white key tag, and it was this big deal. A white key tag means you're starting over, means like you relapsed and you have to go get a white key tag. But I got a white key tag because all the methadone was now out of my system, and I wanted to like make everybody happy and prove that I was like starting over, even though I still was like, I don't think that being on methadone means I was using. I don't. But that's neither here nor there. But I started seeing some control. I remember when I brought Harrison home from the hospital, I don't remember exactly what we were arguing about, but he took the baby wipes. It was like this little travel, like white pack of wipes, and went like that and whipped it out the window. He was mad about something. And then I started seeing little lies. So like, he had this girl that he was talking to, we'll call her Katie. but he would name Katie Richard. So then Richard would be texting him like, Daddy, take me to this music festival, Daddy. I'm like, why is Richard calling you Daddy, sir? And then also, like, I would catch him hitting up girls on Craigslist like I used to post. So that was like a whole mind fuck for me. Like, why are you reaching out to girls? He's like, oh, I'll never actually meet up with them. I'm just doing it as masturbation. Okay. All right, dude, whatever. So yeah, that happened. And so I started seeing like these little things that were red flags, red flags, red flags. On top of all of this, my mom was like supposed to be clean and sober, and I kept catching her smoking crack. And randomly, like, I'd find chore in the side of her car, which is like the silvery coppery stuff. And she would also do the gaslighting thing where she would have a drug dealer and name the drug dealer a different person's name. I think I said that in my last video. But anyways, so I had to play detective with him. I had to play detective with my mom. And it was like this whole thing. Like, are you cheating on me? Are you using drugs? And it's like trying to be sober. And like, you got all these people that are like not willing to be honest with you because they don't want to quit doing their behaviors. When you have quit doing all of your behaviors and now you're living on the straight and narrow and you got all these other people around you just not living right. And it felt really fucked up. Anyways, so as we keep going, there was a couple of times where like the wipes out the window was one big thing. I remember him just holding my head like this sometimes. So like he would make sure not to have a bruise and not to punch me in the face. Because I said, if you ever punch me, I will call the cops and you're on parole. So you'll go to jail. So he'd never punched me in the face. But there's like times where I would run away. Also, after Harrison was born, I was unhappy with my weight. And so I would get my tennis shoes on and I would run around my neighborhood. And I'd put Harrison in the stroller and we'd go running around. And I ended up losing 35 pounds. I did that. And then I started the 21-day fix after I lost some initial weight. And I kind of had that like pep in my step. I had a belief in myself. And really, truly, like that's what getting clean and sober did for me, was it gave me a belief in myself. It gave me a belief in myself that I can do things. Like nobody forced me to get clean. Yes, I was pregnant and I wanted to be a good mom, but still I made that choice. A lot of people have babies and their babies get taken away and they don't change their lives, you know? So I decided to change my life, and it like gave me this powerful feeling like if I want to do something, I can do it. I think that's where I'm going to end this video for today. I've been through a lot, guys. I've been through a lot. I'm never going to hide anything. I'm an open book when it comes to my story, and I want to share it freely because I feel like when I give myself, I was just talking about this with a client the other day. When I give myself permission to be myself, it lets you be yourself. When I'm okay with myself and everything I've done, then it allows you to kind of step out of fear and be like, oh, okay, yeah, maybe I did that too. Or, okay, this is what I've done. So and that's why I'm always 100% honest, is because I know that in order to stay sober, I have to be honest and I have to live a life that's like in line with my morals and my values. And the minute like I stray from that path, like it's just bad news bears for me. So I have to be honest. And I like, if you don't like it, okay, don't watch my videos or don't subscribe to my channel or whatever. But I think it's also really important for us people who are in recovery to continue to share our stories, like Jessica Kent and all the other influencer people that are talking about. Hannah, her name's Smoky Glow. She recently sober again. Anyways, I think it's important for us to talk about it because there's so much stigma surrounding addiction. and the disease of addiction, and like junkies, and living under a bridge with a paper bag type of deal. And every time I tell somebody my story, they're like, well, you don't look like a drug addict. Oh, I can't imagine you doing that. Well, imagine it, honey, because that was my life. What is a drug addict supposed to look like? Just think about that for a second. What do you think a drug addict should look like? And I'm sure the picture that's in your mind is a picture that the media has shown you, or what movies have shown you, or the show Intervention on A&E has shown you, which they literally show people at the worst of the worst of the worst moments. So, but yeah, anyways, thank you so much for listening. I'm going to put this in my little playlist of addiction story, addiction history, whatever. Thank you so much for being here and for supporting my channel. I'm grateful that I can finally open up to you guys about some of the stuff from my past. And the story continues. The story continues because I don't break up with him until 2018. So, more will be revealed. Okay, bye.